I want to talk about balance in this video because I had a realization just a couple of days back which I feel like changes everything, and it definitely shatters the current belief set I had regarding productivity and work-life balance. Because prior to this realization, I used to think that the more you do the better, and you need to be working on whatever you're doing, your purpose, 24/7, and if you're not, it's dead time. So any time where you're not moving towards your goal or practicing habits that are pushing you in your direction is dead time. And like I said, this realization changed everything for me. So I'm going to share it in this video. I'm going to quit the fluff. I'm going to get right into it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think when it comes to the realization, and if it changes your mindset on things, or if you already had this kind of mindset prior to this video. Just let me know. There are two things that I think have led to a disruption in the balance throughout people's lives in recent times. Number one is the fact that if we go back a couple of years, the majority of the work that people would do for labor was laborious physical work. If you're in England, for example, working in the pits and working in the mines, all the different trade jobs, electricians, engineers, plumbers, all this is just physical, strenuous work, right? And back in the day, there was a lot of that going on. There's a lot going on now, but I think it's shifted a little bit. So essentially, the thing about physical work is when you do it, the second it hits is fine, right? You're doing it, it might be hard in the moment, blah, 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 it's taking your time and attention. But the second it hits 5 o'clock, you clock out and you're done. It's not really much mental toll, right? It's just, you just leave all of your baggage at work and you go about your day. For example, when I was working at Amazon, yes, I used to literally live there. For at least 9 months of the year, I just lived there, non-stop, doing 60-hour weeks, which is 6 days on, 1 day off, but I'm working nights. So I'm waking up and then I've got to do all my chores and then I'm going back again. But the thing about Amazon is it's laborious and completely mindless, right? So although you're always there, your mind can kind of just go elsewhere because it's not preoccupied really with the task. It's automatic. It's pretty much the same job over and over and over and over again. The definition of monotony. The second you clock out, you're done and you completely forget about it. I used to make a joke about it with my friend. I was like, bam, we're done. And then I go be thinking of before the shift even ends, I'm out the building. You know what I mean? I'm thinking about what I'm going to train at the gym before I go to bed, right? And having my night drink and my night tea and taking my supplements and different stuff like that. So I was already gone before the shift even ended. Versus the work now, it's a lot more, managerial roles, admin, white collar. You've got computer science, you've got care home, working with kids, you've got all these different things like cybersecurity and stuff, which tolls on your mind because it requires a lot of mental exertion, which I can't even imagine, right? It could be really draining doing that. So when you're doing that all the time, even when you clock out and you've left work and you've left that work environment, it's going to be playing on your mind I need to solve this task, or I need to do this project, or I need to work on this or that. And that can play on you because if you don't turn that, it's very easy to turn off physical work, right? Because it's just done, whatever. But it's a lot harder and a lot more insidious to turn off mental work, especially because we're not being guided in a way to do so. So it's not even a conversation that we're having. Nobody's talking about the idea that with mental work, it's harder to switch off. So we have this load on our mind that just sits there, right? And just hinders our mental progress. For example, me right now, I used to work at Amazon, but now I'm working on my own business, and there's so many different mental processes I need to be in tune with. So what I realized is, and the big idea and the big epiphany that I had, that I mentioned in the introduction of this video, is that I need to actually switch this off, because what happens is you just completely wear down over time. And the idea of banner blindness is when you look at something or say something or hear something so much, you just become numb to it. That's what's happened with my business. I'm so enmeshed in the business all the time, I don't get to have that fresh, clear outsider's perspective, what's so crucial for me to succeed. You know what I mean? For example, say you've got this problem, or you've had a problem that was really hard in the moment and it seemed all consuming, and you just gave up on it and you left it and blah blah blah, and you came back to it maybe 12 hours, 24 hours later. Not only did you solve the problem, you're like, wait, what was the problem, right? It's just completely solved and it's easy. That's because you was able to adopt a fresh perspective because you switched off and you did something else, you repaired, you rested. And when you went back to it, you was able to pay attention to things that wasn't clear before because you're so enmeshed in it. So that's the problem when it comes to mental work, because, you know, like for example with my business, being so enmeshed in it, I didn't even realize that was the case, right? I was sacrificing so much, and I was like working so hard, doing so much monk mode, doing so much work, like I was never even switching it off. So I'd be in the shower getting ready for bed, thinking about business. Just before I go to sleep, I'm doing my visualization about business. I wake up, first thing I'm thinking about business. I'm in the gym, I'm thinking about business all the time. So I'm not able to have that fresh perspective that I need, because, you know, business and agency specifically relies solely on like fresh perspective and like fresh eyes. So because it's a lot of testing what goes into it. There's a lot of testing what goes into the outreach. There's a lot of testing what goes into ads for your clients. There's a lot of testing what goes into sales calls and strategy. So there's a lot of different testing, and you need a fresh perspective constantly. So I didn't realize that because I was so enmeshed in it. I had a cheat day, which is like the first cheat day I've had in ages, just the other day. I sat down, completely vegged out and just relaxed, and I was just watching Small Ant videos. I don't know if you know who Small Ant is, but I grew up on Pokemon, right? So half of my personality, always and forever, right, will be the guy who likes Pokemon Go, likes Pokemon Gen 3, Pokemon Ruby, Emerald, and Sapphire is just amazing. I actually grew up on Gen 4. That's the Pokemon that, in Pokemon Platinum, that's the one that my brother downloaded on one of them weird, like, I used to call them like E64s, where it'd be like a DS cartridge, and it had like 30 games on it. It gave me Pokemon Platinum, and I remember just playing it like, this is trash. I remember talking about this in one of my very first videos about video games, actually. But I fell in love with Pokemon, right? I spent over 1,000 hours on it. I love the game, right? And so I was watching Small Ant videos, because this is the guy who like just plays Pokemon for a living, basically. And I was just having the time of my life, right? And I was just relaxing and chilling, and just, I felt so restored. And the thing is, like, you'd think that by me doing that I'd get lazy and complacent, but what actually happened is, after a little while, away from thinking about the business, I started being like, oh wait, like I've got a completely fresh perspective. I feel completely restored in a way that sleeping doesn't even seem to offer. Like, it's like I just went to sleep for a day and woke up from this trance I've been living in, and it's like, whoa. Like, I'm actually really motivated. Like, the motivation that I wanted to have towards my business but haven't had, I just suddenly gained by watching Pokemon videos, which is insane, right? So this is a big distinction. This is something that's disrupted balance in recent times, is this idea of physical versus mental work. I think making that distinction is really important, and making sure you spend time away from your business and you have different parts of your life what you're catering to, and you prioritize relaxation. I think these things are really important. It's really funny coming from someone as type A as me, someone who is burning the midnight oil by definition, because I realized just the other day how important it is to relax. And now relaxation is a staple part of my routine, and I'm not gonna overlook it again. So at the end of every day now, I'm going to spend like half an hour just relaxing, vegging out, and doing what I need to do just to get that energy restoration, because I think it's really important. And it trumps what any diet can offer you, any amount of sleep can offer you, from my experience. So it's really weird, actually. I feel like it's contrary to popular advice from older people who are talking about self-help, being self-help junkie, monk mode, nightmare mode, all that different stuff. Don't get me wrong, I do really prioritize all these things still. So I think it really is important, time in a season, to really lock in on things and focus on things, but also just make sure you are relaxing a little bit at the end of every day, just to restore and make sure you're not getting banner blindness on what it is you're doing. Leads on to the second point: times and seasons. So this is something that I never really adopted either, this idea that you should be either locked in or completely like degenerate, right? I've never really heeded to that idea. I always liked the idea of like sacrificing and, you know, just working and outworking people and doing stuff like that. But the human body is not made for that. And I don't care who you are, you have a degenerate side to yourself, which I feel like if you don't feed into it, sometimes it's just going to build up, like that shadow self's going to build up and it's going to engulf you, and you're going to end up crashing in the long run. I think it's good to just take time out, even if it's once a week, to feed into that shadow self, just to keep it at bay and to keep it satisfied. Because it's going to be very hard for you to move towards your goal in the long term if you've got this shadow self what's just being completely suppressed. So it's like, build up the shadow self, and then release it and let it go. So there's definitely times and seasons, and that's how I look at life now. So there's times where you do need to lock in and really pay attention to what it is you're doing, but there's also times where you need to, whatever your definition of fun is, maybe you're a social animal and you like to go out and party and do stuff like that. Maybe someone who's like me, who just likes to sit at home, recluse, and just watch videos and relax, maybe hang out with your girlfriend, maybe go to the cinemas, eat junk food, like whatever it is you do, times and seasons. But I also feel very hesitant throwing out the idea of junk food and stuff, because, you know, if you've got an addictive personality like me and you've got this addictive self, so not only have you got the shadow self, you've got this addictive self. I'm not going to talk about addictions in this video because it's a whole topic in itself, the idea of like acting out, which is like your addiction ritual, where whatever it is you do, like an addictive personality manifests not through just one substance. So it might not just be weed, for example. If you're an addicted person naturally, that addiction is going to manifest in loads of different ways unless you control that addictive side of yourself. It could manifest in negative thinking, being narcissistic, you know what I mean? Negative thinking, being narcissistic, smoking, drinking, eating, excessive sleeping, excessive relaxation. So it manifests in loads of different ways if you're not aware of your addictive self. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Back to the idea of times and seasons though. When I'm locked in, you can't get in touch with me. Like right now I've got two phones. I've got all my contacts on my old phone, which is like an iPhone 8. So that's the number what all my contacts and people and whatever have. Discord, school, WhatsApp, text, all my messages go to there. But the catch is that phone's on airplane mode literally 2 weeks at a time. So you can't contact me when I am locked in, right? And you know what, I've only been locked in, so this is like a new thing I'm adopting, and I've only been locked in, so I don't know what it's like to be on the other side. Now I never will be somebody who takes a lot of pride in relaxing, because it's just not me, right? I feel too booted up to sit back and relax forever, right? Like it's just not me. So I don't know what the shadow side of me, like the complete degenerate of me acting out. I know I like Papa John's pizza, and I know I like watching Pokemon videos. And that's my form of relaxation. So the times and seasons, right now I'm really just locked in, focusing in on getting to 10k a month. That's like my big thing, because I'm kind of at this place where I've got to have money to get to the next level. I've got to have a business, and I've got to have money to be able to be a tax resident in Dubai so I can move out over there. I've got to have money so I can hire a team, outsource, you know, my meal prepping. I can get a chef, get a maid, work on projects that I feel like are even more significant, like starting a brand, like an actual physical brand, and just doing larger projects, experimenting with my style, getting a stylist, and really just optimizing my life and go to the next level, getting production, writing books and doing different stuff like that. I need money and capital to be able to double down on that. So right now I'm locked into the idea of 10k a month, right? So that's times and seasons. And when I hit 10k a month, I'm going to chill for a little bit, maybe just relax and just soak it all in, look at moving to Dubai and just all that different kind of stuff. But right now that's what my main focus is, which leads me to the next point. You've got to have priorities. So right now, for example, I'm looking at the percentage on my camera. It's on 17%. Sony cameras do not last very long whatsoever. I've literally got like 4 batteries. I've gone through 2 already just shooting this video. You got to have priorities when it comes to how you live your life, because if not, you're kind of just going to move around everywhere. It's the whole idea of having goals and how it creates a filter for your life, and you know what, not only do you know what you're moving away to, you know what to say no to now, rather than, oh, I don't know, so I'm going to take it anyway. Like you just do anything, and you're overwhelmed and you're confused and you lack that sense of direction and purpose. For example, on a really high level, my goals for the year are 100,000 YouTube subscribers, £100,000 per month, and having like a full agency organization, and then reading 100 books. They are the priority. There's loads of other sub priorities, but when I wake up, they're the 3 things that are on my mind, and that filters out a lot of my decisions, because now I'm thinking, does this decision move me towards X, Y, or Z? No, I'm not going to do it. And then, you know, that priority comes into sub priorities and how it is I actually structure my day. So I structure my day based on activities that are moving towards these, and all the other activities I try and minimize, right? Like all the chores and all the monotonous activities and the drearies of life, like the chores and the hoovering and the cooking and the cleaning. All of that I try and just minimize as much as possible. I try and do all my cleaning in one day of the week, and I try and just cook for as little as possible because of the goals. And how I do this is in the form of a vision board. Like I write down my goals every day just so I'm really on top of them and they're burned into my mind. But I also have them on a vision board so I can look at and visualize what it is my life's actually going to look like and what I'm moving towards. And the crazy thing, I don't really want to talk about this too much because I know it's cosmic order and then people think it's a little bit airy-fairy, but the whole idea of the unconscious mind is really important. Like, there's loads of different philosophers what I've talked about it. Bob Proctor, Neville Goddard, Vadim Zeland, loads of different successful people chalk their success down to it, whether it be Steve Harvey, Stephen Bartlett. There's loads of people who talk about it, right? So it is important. But, you know, what the idea is that 95% of your actions are based on your unconscious mind. And I think I realised this because I've been doing loads of different manifestation techniques, like writing out my goals, visualising, I've got the vision board, different stuff like that. And I'm constantly thinking about my goals. And what I've noticed is, even when I'm like relaxing and stuff and I'm being a degenerate, like I say, watching small like Pokemon videos, my mind, like my emotional mind, so you know that the feelings you have towards things and like what you're thinking about, what you're moving towards. Maybe like you emotionally feel like you're stuck, so you have this feeling of stuckness, and that's what's in your unconscious mind. Because I've impressed my unconscious mind so many times with this vision and the goals, what I talked about, the 70 books, the 100k a month, and the 100,000 YouTube subscribers. It's like, even when I was relaxing, my mind was just like kind of urging me towards those goals. I was like, man, you need to go shoot a YouTube video. You need to prep out your next script. Like, you need to up your level. You need to increase your volume when it comes to YouTube. You need to shoot YouTube videos every day. You need to outsource your YouTube video creation so somebody's editing your videos for you so you can scale it and do more. You need to be you need to be working on your next outreach method and like starting your new campaign when it comes to getting new leads. You need to test out different ads for your client. You need to, you need to follow up the leads that are interested. Like, when my mind was just going to that, I was like, whoa,
that's suspicious.
Like, this is new, this is different. Like, my mind is literally just ruminating, is obsessed with my goals, right? It's like I've got no choice but to move towards them now. And that's a really cool thing that I've noticed about the unconscious mind and the sense of balance. I guess it's a little bit related. So I talked about this idea of sacrifice, right? So I am literally the most tightly wound person you're ever going to meet, right? Like, prior to the realization that I talked about a little bit earlier and in the introduction, my life was structured. I didn't play any video games. I didn't smoke. I didn't drink any alcohol. I didn't eat any junk food. I didn't watch any TV. I don't consume any content. So I'm not watching any YouTube videos whatsoever. I'm only creating YouTube videos. I don't listen to any music. I don't listen to any music in the car. I'm completely mindful in the car. It's like a habit I've had in mind. When I go on walks, I never listen to music. So any single thing you can think of when it comes to restrictions and restrictiveness and discipline, I had it adopted until literally just like 2 days ago, and I was like, wait, this is probably too much, right? In the favor of sacrifice. So like I said, I'm all for sacrifice and times and seasons, but I think there's like lines in the sand that you need to draw. Like, there's no way you're going to be able to, like, something that I was trying to do is, like, you know how when you listen to a song and it's in your mind and you sing the song or you hum the song in your mind? I was trying to remove that. So I stopped listening to music, and I was only listening to, like, I only read books, right, in my idle time, or just completely mindful, just like sitting there and just being bored, like sitting with that boredom, which I'm here for, but like to the extent which I was doing is probably a little bit crazy. And then I had no downtime at all in the day. I had no rest days. I was just completely going, right? And that was like what I was sacrificing for my future self, which, like I said, I'm in love with that idea, but you do really need balance, and you do need that idea of relaxation, because it's just crazy, right? And I think not listening to music's a little bit crazy. And even though I'm not going to, I might listen to it here and there. And if I've got a song in my mind, I might listen to it, right? Like, damn it. Like, you don't have to do all of that. I feel like it's a little bit intense. But at the same time, it depends on your goals. Like, ultimately, I do want to become a billionaire. So I understand I've got to read, like, a lot of different... I feel like I've got to read a lot of different books. This is why I've read, like, 80 different books this year so far. And, done all what I've done to... in favour of the future self of me that's a billionaire. Naval Ravikant talks about this idea that, in a life where there's 100,000 different outcomes, he says 1,000 different outcomes, I'm hyperbole in a life where you've got 100,000 different outcomes at any given moment, he wants to be successful in 999,999 of them. That's what I'm doing with my approach to being a billionaire. I just want to be T-shaped, I want to be a well-rounded person. I don't want to be somebody who's super rich but like ignorant guy when you talk to him and can't hold a good conversation. I don't want to be somebody who's really fit and broke. and I don't want to be somebody who's like really spiritually into, like I've talked about this in a different video before, right? But yeah, I want to be a well-rounded guy. You know, the guy who you look at and you're like, wow, this guy's life is a movie, right? Like he's living a dream. I feel like that with Tai Lopez. Like he's somebody who I look at and think, wow, he's got a really good life. Like he's completely crushing it in business, completely crushing it in his social life, and he's completely crushing it with his education and his smarts. Like every single aspect in his life, he's just got it figured out, it seems. And that's what I want for my life. What I want to say as well is trauma. I feel like to a certain extent, like this whole idea of type A is based off trauma, right? It's usually to the tune of having a disapproving or abusive or narcissistic dad that creates this idea of trauma when it comes to like discipline, and like I need to prove something by being super disciplined. You know, like you've got this chip on your shoulder, you've got something to prove. So I fall into that category, and that's where my type A-ness comes from. Like it's like being hyper competitive. Like I want to be the best at everything. Not only do I want to be the best at everything, I want to have the best things surrounded by me. I want to be surrounded by what I perceive to be the best people. I want to have the best clothes. I want to eat the best foods, drink the best drinks, go to the best restaurants, travel first class, drive the nicest car. Like I want all of this because I want people to really, from a really like weird standpoint, I want people to look at me and be like, whoa, this guy is so cool. I'm like under this false pretense that like I am what I think people think about me, and I understand it's flawed. I understand that it's flawed at the core, but it's not going to be something that goes away until I get the success that I think is going to change my life, right? So it's just something that I'm letting rule me in a sense, and it is a little bit of a funny one. But yeah, like this whole type A-ness is just trauma, and that's what it's something I wanted to mention because I feel like it plays into balance somewhat. It's not really related to balance fully, but I feel like it's something that somebody will benefit from by me just throwing out there. So that's why I'm throwing that in there. Because like I said, yeah, you've got this lower self that I feel like needs nurturing. It's like a child inside your mind that needs nurturing. And then if you're not nurturing it, you're suppressing it. Like you can't really suppress things. They just get repressed and it builds up, right? So I feel like full expression is the key. And like I said, that lower self of me likes Papa John's pizza and watching Pokemon videos and just really just chilling. Like I like comfort, right? And what I've realized since the last couple of days, just feeding into that side of myself rather than trying to completely neglect it, is that my willpower in my general life is increased now. Like today I've shot 2 YouTube videos. I've never done that before, right? And I've just been really more productive. I've been able to jump into my cold showers a lot easier, and I've been a lot more disciplined. It's like now I've paid attention to that lower side of myself. It's not bothering me anymore. Because when I'm trying to really suppress it and like be my higher self, blah blah blah, for example, it's like my lower self is fighting and clawing at me. But when I just pay attention to my lower self, it's like it's just in the background chilling. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've got nothing more to say.